All right, what's up, guys? We are live for the 14th installment of the Unplugged Alpha series. It's Rich Cooper. All right. You guys are going to like this one tonight. It's something I spent some time working on earlier today. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving out there to you Canadian brothers stuck in Canada. Trudeau's Canada. Yeah, I had to put off a few things today to accommodate some family stuff, but glad I had an opportunity to get this together for tonight's show and fire it up. So, let's see what we got here. All right, so if you guys are familiar with Quadrants, and why is my stream not showing up here on... Can you guys... hear me right now? Like, is this live? Oh, it is live. Okay, it's just my screen's not refreshing on the other side here. That's so bizarre. I think it might be time to check this computer out and get another one. Anyway, let's do this. Before we get started with the quadrants and breaking this down, I'm going to need you guys to do me solid. So can you head over to YouTube? Click this link if you're watching this on the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Twitches, the Twatches, the Twatters, and come on over. Now, if you guys are listening to this podcast, I'm going to warn you right now. If you're listening to it as an audio cast, like on iTunes or something like that, you're not going to get the visuals. I'm going to do my best to explain it as I'm kind of going through the different quadrants, but you're probably going to want to watch this one on YouTube rather than listening to the audio replay because of said visuals. All right. If you're not familiar with quadrant breakdowns, they've been doing this for years. You just draw a line top to bottom, kind of. Let's do it on my screen. We do top to bottom in the middle of the screen and then left to right. You slice it up into 4 pieces. Okay, we have, quite simply, 4 main quadrants of relationship archetypes that most men enter into. By the way, thanks. I'm watching the chat here on the other side. I'll be dropping the join link tonight for you guys to hop on in and ask questions. It probably won't take me more than 30 minutes to go through this, so we should have a good solid hour and a bit of Q&A. So make sure you stick around for that. Get the likes up. Thank you very much. Appreciate you pointing that out. Get those likes up. It helps me out with the algorithms. We've got like a couple hundred people watching, 66 likes. Get those likes up. It helps me out a ton. And by the way, that live chat, I don't know why people still message me and say, make the live chat open to everybody. I don't have time to play whack-a-mole in the live chat with people that are offside. It's a membership-only chat. It's a couple bucks a month. If you enjoy watching these shows, just support the content, hit the join button. You can enter in the live chat. It makes it easier for me to track this because the whack jobs, they're not paying. So it's as simple as that. It keeps my life simple, all right? Do not message me and email me. Well, make the live chat free in public. You'll get more. No, go away. Homie, don't roll that way. All right, let's pull this up here. All right, and add to stream, and let's make a few adjustments. Can you guys see that okay on your screens? That like I've got to shift everything over on this giant screen, so I'm not sure if you're getting the whole picture or not. Just let me know quickly in the chat. There we go. Let's try to fit this a little more square. All right. For those of you guys listening to the audio file, it's quite small on an iPhone. Don't watch it on an iPhone. Throw it up on your console, on your TV. Look on it on a computer screen. What I'll do is I'll zoom in for you, so I can zoom into the different quadrants this way, and then we'll cover them like one by one. So this is a work in progress. It's not complete. It's more complete than it's not complete. So let me put it that way. But this is a piece that I need to break down a little bit further. There's other areas of these quadrants which will probably appear that I'm not going to deal with tonight. Things like Alpha God, for example. There's other guys out there that are going to watch this right now and go, wait a second, Rich, how come you don't have Omega and Sigma and Delta and blah, 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 and whatever manufactured, concoction they want to use in their head. I'm going to explain why. So on the top half, you have unplugged. On the bottom half, you have plugged in. Okay. On the left-hand side of the quadrants, you've got alpha. On the right-hand side of the quadrants, you've got beta. These terms, alpha and beta, are placeholder terms designed to describe how women view men. Women eat, generally speaking, because they're hypergamous and they have the alpha seed, beta need sides of the different equations, and there's a blended area kind of in the middle. There's, there's a gray area. It's not all black and white all the time. Okay, there's several pieces of the puzzle. Okay, if you want to learn everything about hypergamy, go watch Rollo's videos on it. He's got probably 5 or 6 different blogs breaking it down in depth. He's probably done the most on the topic. Tonight, I'm going to be breaking down the 4 different quadrants, the 4 different types of relationships that you're going to be dealing with. And again, we've got on the left-hand side, Unplugged Alpha. Below that, we have Plugged in Alpha. On the right-hand side of that line, we've got Unplugged Beta. And below that, we have Plugged in Beta. So I'm going to zoom this in here to kind of bring you in. And what I'll do is I'll start with the Plugged in Beta on the bottom right-hand corner. So you guys can pause this and read it if you want at some point, but that should give you on your screen the biggest version that you can possibly see. Let me see if I can drag this over a tiny bit more to size it in a little bit better. All right, here we go. So these are just some bullet points. Again, I'm going to have to refine this. It's going to probably be a larger piece that I'm going to have to spend a little more time working on, but I want you guys to get your head around it because a lot of guys that I talk to on a one-on-one basis don't clearly understand this. So I hope this visual helps break it down. I was talking to a guy earlier this week, and I wanted to pretty much dedicate this breakdown to him in our conversation. So I'm sure you're watching right now, so just follow me on it. The plugged-in betas are basically about 80% of men out there. It's blissful ignorance, if that makes sense. They just kind of sleepwalk through life. These are the blue pill guys. They're not getting their best results out of life. They're not really living a optimized, fulfilled life. But this is the vast majority of the male population right now. When they deal with women, they're for the most part plugged-in betas. Okay, they bend the knee to women and society's narratives. So the happy wife, happy life narrative, put her on a pedestal. Now, when I say put her on a pedestal, it's not just in life, but you'll also see this in social media. It was one of the points that I made over here, which I'm going to expand on in later content. But what that looks like is you'll see it on places like Facebook, probably for the most part, or Instagram or Twitter. But on the main socials where the relationship, description is broken down, and they're talking about how, oh, she's my one. I would be nothing without her if it wasn't for her, blah, blah, blah. My life was nothing until she entered it. The standard sort of stuff. And they're constantly at anniversaries, Valentine's Day, birthdays, kids' graduation, even just random events, putting her up on a pedestal. And the one thing that you'll notice, and this is part of the unplugging process, the one thing that you'll notice is she generally doesn't reciprocate. So try this. If you don't trust me, go and try this yourself. You'll see one of your plugged-in friends, and they're going to go on about, they'll have some picture of her, with him leaning in, looking like all plugged-in beta plebbed out, and she's staring at the camera with a big, smile on her face, and he's staring at her, kissing her on the cheek. You've all seen pictures like that, and it's got some caption in it about how she's the best thing ever, and he'd be nothing without her. And then you click her profile, and there's nothing. It's crickets. Sometimes it's even worse than crickets. It's like pictures of her on Instagram posing in bikinis, soliciting the attention of other guys. And there's nothing covering him or, basically reciprocating his feelings for her, but back the other way on her social feed. So that's what that looks like. I'll talk about that a little bit more, another cast, to be more specific on it. These plugged-in betas, they're the guys, it's the 80% of the population that are chasing women, not excellence. They'll do whatever it'll take just to get the girl, but they won't put themselves first. They won't figure out how to make serious bank. They won't figure out how to level themselves up in all areas that they might be deficient in. Okay, so these are the guys that are chasing women, but not excellence. They're mostly nice guys, and one of the things that you'll notice that they'll do, go and sign up for some of these Facebook groups, like these private groups, like, the Legends of Man and the Impossibly Great Man of Magnificence. The groups that I'm talking about. They all have these fancy titles. And, you'll see some guy in there and he's like, hey fellas, want to get some feedback on this. Been married for 15 years, 2 kids, blah, blah, blah. Wife isn't intimate with me anymore. What do I do? And then, the comments start to chime in and it's all, well, just be yourself. Or if you do the dishes more and put away the laundry, then, you'll probably get some place, sort of thing. And they don't generally get good advice, nor do they give good advice to others. They are plugged into society's lies. These are the blue pill condition guys, right? Another thing that you'll notice that they'll do a lot of is they'll try to negotiate desire and use chore play, which I just kind of described earlier, which is like, putting away the dishes and the laundry and taking care of the kids so she can go out for a girls' night out. And that's not going to generate genuine burning desire. I think the second or third chapter of my book, if you have not got it, the Unplugged Alpha is on Amazon. Get it. Don't be a pleb. Don't be plugged in. Go look for answers. Are insignificant. They are not significant. They are insignificant to their inner circle, to their world around them, to the people they work with, to where they go about things. And not everybody can be significant. Okay, it's not like we're ever going to shift this bottom 80% of blissfully ignorant plugged in beta males to become unplugged alphas. It's just not going to happen. Most of society will remain. All I'm doing is I'm giving you these 4 different quadrants so you understand the differences. And then you can, if you intend to level up, or if you intend to go through the unplugging process to become, the best version of yourself, then you can take those steps. Again, these bullet points here essentially are describing to you what it is that, you're sitting at right now. Okay. Blah, 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 physically out of shape. I don't know what the number is now today, but last I heard, it's something between 2/3 and 3/4 of the North American population is either categorically obese, fat, morbidly obese, somewhere in that area. Basically, their body mass index or their body fat percentage is at a place where they're unhealthy. They generally have the comorbidities, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, all that good stuff tying in with the obesity, sore joints, bad knees. They're out of breath just walking upstairs. And this could be a 25-year-old guy. Like I've seen this in all age groups, but they're generally speaking also physically out of shape. Plugged in betas get themselves to that point because they don't prioritize self-care. Okay, it's only guys that have unplugged that recognize the importance of putting themselves first, putting their physique and their health, i.e. self-care, as a priority. Moving on, they're fragile and allow problem women in their lives. Now, when I talk about fragility, I'm making reference to the book Anti-Fragile. You have 3 categories. You have fragile, robust, and anti-fragile, essentially. When chaos or stress comes the way of plugged-in betas, they basically, their stress levels go out of control, cortisol spikes, would generally spike in their blood panel if you were pulling blood labs around that time. But the fragility of things coming their way really, really affect them in a negative way. I'm going to deal with the anti-fragility part when I get to the Unplugged Alpha part. But problem women are another issue for them, and they routinely invite them into their lives. If you want to learn more about, where's my link here on the banner? Here it is. If you want to learn more about red flags and the kind of problem women that most plugged-in betas invite into their lives, you should get on my email list. It's down below, which is entrepreneursandcars.com/red-flags. I very rarely send out emails, maybe like once every month or two. And if I do, it's of something of some importance that you definitely want to check out, or I can't publish it on my YouTube channel. I did I added up probably about the 8th or 9th email to that list yesterday. And it's a really, really important video that I think that you guys should check out. It's basically a documentary on what's going on in the world today with the situation with the beer bug, world finance, and everything kind of tied into that. Excuse me a sec, I gotta take a sip. So make sure you check that out. You don't even have to buy my book if you want to read the chapter on red flags. It's there for free. Just get on the list and then you can download it. It's a PDF. I break down the 20 red flags. Plugged-in betas will allow these problem women into their life. That's just what they do. They complicate life and justify why they do it, often as nice guys. I shouldn't have to explain that. I've talked about that many times. They believe the mainstream media and vote for big government and control. The reason why, using Canada as a recent example, because we just completed an election cycle back in September. The reason why Justin Trudeau continues, I think it's been 3 terms now. The reason why he continues to stay in office is because a large chunk of the population continues to believe their narratives and falls for the mainstream media lies and keep voting for big government because they trust them. That's what plugged-in betas do. That's why you're never going to see a libertarian government. It's just never going to happen because the vast majority of the population, men included, subscribe to the big lies and the mainstream media, and they like the control. They don't want freedom. They want free shit. They want big daddy government to take care of them. They want a ruler. Okay, that's what these plugged-in betas do. They can also be very, very successful leaders and entrepreneurs. You know, I've talked about this before on my channel and some prior collabs. But this large chunk of the population, the 80% of guys out there, are basically useful puppets, and they can fall into very, very successful roles. I mean, there's a large number of very successful entrepreneurs. There's 7, 8, 9, 10-figure guys that are still plugged in betas, but they figured out how to make serious money. There's a lot of them out there. All right, so let's zoom out a little bit here. Now, moving up over here to the unplugging process, because the flow generally follows like this. You guys should be able to see my cursor if I move it around, but the flow generally goes like this. Most guys, 80%, are the plugged-in betas. Then, judging by the size of the area here, this is the vast majority of the movement, the migration up until unplugged betas. And then you'll see some unplugged betas moved into the unplugged alpha category. You'll sometimes see plugged-in alphas turn into unplugged betas with the unplugging process, which I'll explain as well. And following this route up over here, you will get some plugged-in alphas becoming unplugged alphas. But let me just zoom in over here to the unplugged betas. Very, very similar to the betas. The biggest difference is that they now see the code in the matrix. They now see the world for what it is. They're now basically red-pilled, okay? It's often trauma that brings them to the point of unplugging. They generally remain betas, though. There's a lot of unplugged betas, and I would estimate somewhere around 10% of men are sitting in this category of the male population right now. And I put danger zone in there in brackets for a reason, and I'll explain why in a minute. They're generally mad because of the trauma, and they often stay mad when they unplug from the lies that they subscribe to. It's like, why did I believe all this crap that didn't serve me? And here I am today with these crap results, and I'm upset. I'm upset at myself, my mom, my dad, school system, the government, my employer. Doesn't matter what it is, but they generally have some resentment and often sometimes guilt. And I've said this before, resentment and guilt are the two most negative emotions you can feel as a guy. One is directed towards somebody else. The other one is directed to yourself. It's like carrying a big burlap bag full of bricks around on your shoulder. It is not a prize. It is not something to be proud of. All you really need to do is figure out how to put that bag of bricks down and walk away from that shit. Okay, moving on. These guys are very, very similar to the plugged-in betas, but now they see the truth. Many will wallow in misery and stay at this point into perpetuity, okay? Sometimes they commiserate with other guys on like internet forums, sometimes YouTube channels, Discords and stuff like that. It's like treading water, you know, like you're not standing on the beach, you're not swimming somewhere, you're just kind of treading water, and it's exhausting. And I'm not really sure why they do it. I mean, if somebody were to ask me to point at something, I'm going to say this: they don't really want to do the work. They don't want a solution. They want to be mad. Okay, like being mad is not a solution. Hoping for something to change or the environment to change around you is not a solution. Hope is a terrible plan. Okay. The point here is that very few of these unplugged betas will actually do the work to level up. They'll stay in a plate of unplugging, but with beta conditioning. Most are missing the fastidious, relentless pursuit of excellence, like that gumption. Okay, they just don't have that strong level up gumption that drives them into the next category over. They still complicate life and justify why they do it. You know, they'll give reasons why they don't want to lose the weight, why they don't want to make money, why they don't want to figure out what a look should, you know, be for them. All these things that I've talked about before. I'm not going to break them all down one by one. That'll take forever, but you get the idea. Most of the time, and this is a key component of many unplugged betas, is they often find themselves in a position, they probably don't realize it, but they often find them in a position where they're actually the smartest person in the room. And I've always said to you guys, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. You need to get out of that room. You need to surround yourself with higher caliber people, better, like a class of guys that are of far, far better prestige, you know, if you will. That is one of the biggest mistakes I see the unplugged betas make, is the commiserating, you know, the misery, the sulking, And oftentimes they're quite intelligent. In fact, they're very, very smart. I've seen a lot of these guys. Some of them you don't even see. They're just doing like voiceovers. You know, they do like voiceover stuff on YouTube, and they get it all. It's just, you know, I can't agree with the solution that they're applying to their lives to solve where they're sitting, their crap results. It just doesn't add up. It just doesn't make sense to me. So these guys are different in the sense that they now don't trust mainstream media or the state. So unlike these guys down over here they're the plugged in betas who trust the mainstream media, vote for big government, liberal control, liberalism, and all that sort of stuff that ties into it. These guys are at the point where they don't trust the state. They don't trust the mainstream media. They're just not down with it because they've unplugged. Okay, but they're still with the beta condition. So let's zoom out over here. I'm not going to spend too much time in the plugged in alphas because these guys are kind of like natural chads. Okay. Sometimes as a function of trauma or distress, and I'm kind of rolling my cursor over here if you guys can see it on the screen, we'll move into the unplugged beta part. And this will sometimes happen if, like they have a bad breakup with a wife and she takes the kids and, she was getting with Kevin from, Kevin, the VP of sales, and Steve from accounting, and doing all this stuff behind his back. And he goes through all this trauma and he actually unplugs, but he also becomes more beta. So most of these guys are generally natural chads. Like they're just good looking guys with a chiseled jaw. They were the top tier athletes in their school. They really didn't have a hard time getting the girls, sort of thing. And they actually have many of the qualities of the unplugged alphas, but the biggest difference that the plugged in alphas have is they're still plugged into lies. Okay, so things like, the happy wife, happy life narrative, they still negotiate desire. They often become a plow horse in a long-term relationship, the same way that these plugged in betas do over here. These guys also become plow horses. But these guys over here, generally speaking, start off as, they're getting like the hot monkey sex, sort of thing, if you know what I'm saying. So happy wife, happy life, they still negotiate desire. They try to negotiate desire when things aren't working their way. Who's a good example of a plugged in alpha? You know what? I can't think of an obvious one right now that is like Hollywood, mainstream media, or like a celebrity type of personality, but I'll see if I can come back to that. These guys also believe in the mainstream media, okay? They'll pedestalize women, and they'll also vote for big government, It's all about becoming less so that she can become more. Even though they're the natural chads, they also subscribe to a lot of the same beliefs that the plugged-in betas do. It's just they're more of the naturals, but they're plugged-in alphas. They'll also tolerate problem women in their lives. One of the things I see a lot of these plugged-in alphas do is they'll often invite beautiful but crazy women into their lives, okay? We're talking like the high school cheerleader, like a total dime piece, but cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, okay? I don't know, daddy issues, all kinds of things might pop up. Again, the red flag list, there's 20 of them on there. They're the type of guys that find the smoke shows, but they often have problems. It's like peaches and cream, they go hand in hand, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, that's a really good point. The Rock is a plugged-in alpha, big time plugged-in alpha. Yeah, really, really good point. Generally pretty easy for them to unplug, which is one of the upshots of it all. A guy like The Rock, you could unplug pretty quickly, and they're often nice guys too. All right, so let's zoom out over here. So back to the grid. So the general flow of all this sort of stuff, yeah, and Will Smith is another good example too. Yeah, that's a good point, Nick. Generally the flow is if there's movement around, and most of the time there's not movement for a lot of guys. They're bred to believe certain things. Let's go a little bit bigger here. They're bred to believe certain things as young guys. A lot of the time, a large part of the population, I think it's something like 43% of the population is raised now by single parent households, and that's about 80% of the 43% is going to be moms. So it's mostly single moms doing a lot of this. And you get a lot of it's like a beta factory, plugged in beta factories, and they make all of these guys that are just like plugged in betas, boom, boom, boom. They send them out in society, and there's your 80% right there. The school system is mostly female run. It's mostly female teachers. There's not a lot of strong masculine male role models that guys are able to, get exposure to. So it's very, very difficult for them. A lot of the times when they come to my channel, they're at the unplugging stage because of trauma. And if they do the work, and I'm moving my cursor over the Unplugged Beta quadrant right now, they can move over to the Unplugged Alpha quadrant. So let's move to that. And let me just grab the link here to let you guys hop in, because when I'm done with this quadrant, I'm going to start taking some call-ins. So copy, and let me just minimize this out of the screen so I can drop the link. I'm going to drop the link over on YouTube so I can just kind of pin it to the top. Call in and ask a question. And boom. And let's pin that up to the top. Pin message. Okay, so that's pinned to the top if you guys want to ask a question tonight. Okay, and where is my image? There we go. Add to stream. And let's go larger screen. Okay. These guys are like the top 5% of men. And it's not just, you know, these 4 quadrants that exist. Like, you can have overlap over here. I don't have a way to do it with this cursor on this grid right now because I'm not on my quadrant sheet that I was working on. But if I could put like a big oval over a certain area, I mean, you could actually encompass 2, sometimes 3 of these different areas, because somebody could encompass more than one trait. They could have a dominant unplugged alpha trait with some plugged in characteristics as well, if you follow what I'm saying. But generally speaking, the unplugged alphas amount for about the top 5% of men. It's like the top 1 to 5% of men. Some are naturals. Very, very few of them are naturals, in fact, but some are naturals, meaning like they're just that way. Like, they were red pilled from their childhood. They've always been that way. They've always been the Chads. They've always been unplugged. They don't get, you know, goosed by or lied to by anybody. They can see the code in the matrix. They're just naturals in that sense. They live mental point of origin and chase excellence, not women. Okay? Men want to be them. Women want to be with them. This is incredibly important. This is an incredibly important distinction from many of the other categories, because it's only when you achieve this level that you know. Like, when you know, then you know, sort of thing. They're significant and are excellent problem solvers. They don't sulk, they don't moan, they don't whine and complain about life circumstances. They find a way to remedy where they're at. If they're not happy with where they're at in their life, they work on it. They find a solution. When I'm talking about significance, it's like social status, okay? You're not going to get a lot of unplugged alphas, very, very few, in fact. In fact, they're probably almost absent completely. Most of them have a significant stance somewhere in the world. Maybe they're a person of influence, a person of notoriety. They generally have, if they're on social media, they have a strong supportive following. You know, you get my point when I'm saying, like, they have some significance. They have social proof, okay? Another point that I've put under the Unplugged Alpha category is they have achieved physical conditioning, peak physical conditioning. They've achieved the golden ratio, the 1.62 shoulder to hip ratio that we know women admire and love. And this is not me making it up. Oh, Rich, you know, this is not, you just, no, this is evolutionary psychology. It's been covered in many, many research papers and studies. Broad shoulders, narrow waist, chicks dig it. It's as simple as that. Unplug alphas almost always have it. You're not going to find a lot of guys in this category that are completely unplugged, are alphas, and are out of shape. It just does not exist. They're outcome independent. They're outcome independent to results that they get in life. So if things go their way, great. If things don't go their way, they look for the silver lining and the lesson, and they move on. They don't lose, they learn. Okay? They generally are or are becoming, and I'm going to zoom in on this word over here, anti-fragile. Okay? And what that means is, if you're going to take, I was talking about fragility before. If you're going to take a box and you fill it with, I don't know, like some, you know, ceramic mugs like this, let's say, which you can get in the merch store on my YouTube channel, the store tab, and you drop it, they're all going to break, okay, because they're fragile. You put a bag of sand in a cardboard box and you drop it, you can mark that robust because it doesn't change. It doesn't get worse, it doesn't get better. It just stays the same. It's a bag of sand. Anti-fragility essentially means when you add chaos to it, it becomes better. It actually becomes a better version of what it was before. Okay, there's not much that I could, you know, put in a box and say, oh, you know, if I put this pen or these set of headphones or a spoon in the box, it's anti-fragile. You get the point though. But guys that are unplugged alphas generally are or are becoming anti-fragile because they understand the importance of that. When they see the writing on the wall, when they see what's going on in society, when they see the control of the mainstream media, when they see what the state is doing, with masks and lockdowns and, you know, all this manufactured indignation that we're living in today. They lean into the future and they make plans to protect themselves so they have anti-fragility as things change and escalate. Okay, that's a very important component of the Unplugged Alpha. It's something that I'm going to spend some more time talking about in my follow-up book to the first one. So you can look forward to reading about that soon. They generally have accumulated or are accumulated 7-figure plus wealth, 7-8-figure plus wealth. These guys are not poor. Okay, Unplugged Alphas have figured out how to make it rain. They don't do it for the girls. They don't do it to show off flashy cars or anything like that. They do it because they recognize the importance of having options and why money is important and how that solves problems. Okay. Only women allow, the next point, only allow women into their life if they are a complement, not the focus, and they spot problem women fast and they get rid of them. Very important part of all this. Another component of the Unplugged Alpha is they will never be the smartest guy in the room. There's times where they might find themselves in a room where they are the smartest guy. Maybe they're on stage giving a lecture or the presentation or something like that. They're being paid for their time, for example. But they don't intentionally spend time in rooms where they look around and they go, wow, I'm the brightest guy here. Let's keep doing this for days and weeks and months and years on end. When they recognize that they're in a room where they are the most calibrated, socially perfected in the way that they interact and where they go in life, then they're just like, okay, well, I've learned everything that I can from this room. I need to put myself in more challenging rooms. They also understand that their network is their net worth. People that are Unplugged Alphas, they have phenomenal networks. You could strip them of everything they ever get in their lives. Their money, their wealth, their cars, their housing, their properties, their real estate, the women. You could strip them of all of that and then drop them in a foreign country. As long as they have their phone and their contacts, you will see them solve problems that plugged-in betas could never touch. Network is their net worth. They understand the importance of that. And last but not least, they surround themselves with winners and remove losers quickly. Okay, so there's your 4 quadrants. I'll put it full screen for you for just 1 second so you can try to pause that, or if you want to take a screenshot. Let me try to make it a little bit bigger for you guys. This is going to be refined and cleaned up and, you know, brought to a better position for you guys in the future. But yeah, that's my presentation for tonight. I hope that makes good sense to you. All right, so let's move to taking some call-ins on this, and let's see what we got over here. I gotta reorganize my screens. Bum, bum, bum. All right, let me grab some of these super chats before I start taking some of you guys calling in. I see a few in the back area. Just in the private chat, let me know what it is that you want to talk about or what question you have. Just helps me move through it quickly. We got, what do we got here? Brianna for $4.99 super chat. Thank you. And what else we got here? Another one. Unplugged betas prevail in the South. They want to be alphas, but they don't want to confrontation from opposing forces. Yeah, it's another component of, you know, the plugged in is they suck with confrontation. They don't know how to deal with it. They sometimes like clam up, sort of thing. They get all like nervous and, you know, broken up. Looks like Moff, you talked to this one tonight. Yeah, so if you have a call-in question, that link is there. You can call in. It's open to everybody, young, old, men, women. Bring it on. 100%. Great show. Thanks. Yeah, like pay attention to this, guys. Ask yourself, I mean, if you legitimately want to level up and you want to become a better version of yourself and you want to get better results out of life and have a better experience as a guy, the best place to be is in the Unplugged Alpha category. It wasn't an accident that I titled this book because a lot of the unplugging that I describe in the plugged in portion, I was there too, guys. I was there. So, you know, just do the damn work. You can grab the book on Audible. It's a great listen. It's like a 5-hour listen. You can probably do it faster if you do it like 1.3, you know, like 1.5 speed. Get it in print and Audible. I got to add a hard copy option soon. I have to get the cover redesigned, and I have a Spanish version coming out soon for those guys in the Latin countries that wanted to get it for themselves as well. Let me just grab my headphones here and plug them in because otherwise I get feedback. Give me uno momento, por favor. I hate these things. Let's just take them off. There we go. All right. Roller Angel, you're first, buddy. All right. All right, man. What do you got for me, buddy?
I just want to say, your book really helped me draw that line between because I didn't want to mistreat women, but I certainly didn't want to turn into one of these beta guys. But so I tried to just befriend them, right? And then it slowly but surely chips away at you, and you end up becoming a beta. And before I knew it, I got divorced, cut all the ties.
You did the betasization through 1,000 concessions routine?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was I got to the point where I was just started to go to more conferences and started to more towards my hobby and my craft, and she was trying to compete with me, just like you said in your book, where
Yeah, one of the red flags.
yeah, where she doesn't want to see you go into the place without her also going to a place, and it was driving me crazy.
She's only going to come along for the ride as a passenger if she sees you as a guy that can lead her. You can't lead her as a beta. I mean, she's not gonna yield to where you're going and saying, "Yes, Roller, I want to support you on this mission." If she doesn't trust you, a woman's got to trust you to lead her to do a good job, and she'll only yield to you when she sees you as a guy that's worthy of that trust. Then she'll give it to you. Everybody else is invisible to her at that point. She doesn't see other guys, then, generally speaking.
Yeah, and then one of the things that I really didn't realize was I grew up in that Salt Lake City, the polygamous community, where some of these men have very wealthy, but I just hated the way that they treated their wives, and
How
and
do
I
they
didn't
treat them?
want.
Because I mean, like you, Moth put over here, define mistreating women. So why don't
Okay,
you give us some
so
clarity on
they
that?
they they treat them like they're the CEO of the company, and they basically built a corporate structure with no HR. All the kids work for them. They take all the money. All the women do analyzation about the kids and trying to figure out this one's good at this one's good at that. You should put him over here and have him doing these different things. So they treat them more like managers of their little unit instead
Of the
of
family, you mean?
yeah. But
How is that mistreating women if you trust her to run your home for you?
because they don't care how their home is ran. They don't care about the kids. They just want to make a whole bunch of kids, and they sort of ignore the women, right? They'll just go get another wife that's younger. And so you see your mom who's being promised a farm. She's been promised horses and all these things. Like they promise them whatever it is that they want, but
Hmm.
they make all this money, and then they never ever buy them any of the things that they said they were going to do. They
Yeah,
never
so that's being deceptive. So I understand what you're saying.
yeah, it drove me crazy, and so I made a ton of money with Google Ads when I was in 2005
Mm.
and they took it all, and it didn't change any of our situation. Everybody was still in debt. Everything was really strange, and it was even though we're in the same family, with all these different brothers from another mother, some family has Nikes and expensive clothes, but my family was shopping at the thrift store, and it was just super strange to grow up in that, where you see this favoritization of one woman and just complete ignoring of
Did
some.
you did you grow up in a polygamous household? Like, did your
Yeah,
dad have multiple wives?
yeah, and my uncles and everybody, and
How many like co-wives did he have in the family?
he only had two.
Mm.
But my mom came from one of the families that has 7 or 8 brothers and sisters, and they're all polygamous,
Mm.
and they're all part of the bigger family. So my dad swooped in and tried to get one of the more entitled, or what do you call it, established
Hmm.
families, and
One
then
of the thing I noticed about a lot of these polygamous, communities in that part of the states, and I haven't seen all of them, so I can't draw a full conclusion. But what's been presented to me from shit that I've watched either on YouTube or Netflix is most of these guys, they're they're basically plugged in betas running multiple women in their lives, right? Like they're not unplugged alphas. If I
no,
understand it correctly, like would you say
no.
that?
I would say that definitely. I never wanted to be like them, so
Mm.
I literally just left, started with nothing, and figured out how to make it on my own. And now I'm to the point where I just really don't. Now that I got your book, it was really good to help me. 'Cause I really want to be an alpha and get to that point, but I just didn't want to be that guy, and
Hmm.
I've seen them as alphas because of they run all these businesses and they make all this money and they do whatever the hell they want. They're never home. They own motorcycles and guns and
Hmm.
they do all the kinds of fun stuff, but they're just not good people at the end of the day.
Right. So there's a category in polygamy which is called the alpha god, and I didn't cover it in my quadrant because it's not very common. It's very rare. Okay, but there's a book called Alpha God by Dr. Hector Garcia. If you want to get your head around how that works properly, read that book.
Okay, definitely appreciate it.
Did you have a question for me tonight, or is it mostly just a share?
Yeah, just to share, and then also, just to let you know that, I'm trying to get out of here, before shit gets too crazy. I'm in Florida right now, but looking at Thailand. I'm thinking in Eastern, women
Is Florida not a good state? I mean, I hear it's one of
Um,
the better states right now.
it's yeah, it's. I just don't really find people that I get along with out here.
Hmm.
There's a lot of super fakes, right? Happy, nice to your face, and
Where do you
then
live?
over on the Brooksville area, which is north of Tampa.
Okay.
So yeah, I just don't find too many people that I can actually get to know, because they'll just ghost me, right? Uh,
You're talking about women, or are you talking about men?
Both. I'll meet people, and they'll seem kind of cool, but then they just won't interact.
Well, well, I mean, you got to understand too that like attracts like, right? So, I mean, if you're attracting people that are of low caliber, then there's something missing in your life personally, yourself. Um, I mean, I don't agree with everything Jordan Peterson says, but the one thing that I will always support is, like fix your house first before you try to fix the world. So, if you've got problems in Florida connecting with people, you're going to have problems in Thailand connecting with people, right?
Okay.
There's still good people all around the world. I have many guys that I've connected with over the years, and a lot of them have like come into my community. They've stayed there, and they've all, not all, but many of them have like leveled up and become way better versions of themselves. And they live all throughout North America. Many of them live in Canada too, right? Some of them are in the same boat that I am. Like, they've been divorced. They're an unplugged alpha. They can't leave because they've got kids to raise, through the school system before they can go. It's not like they can move, the ex-wife and what's going on in her world. But if you're finding that everybody that you meet, men and women, are not meeting standards or certain expectations, there's something wrong with you first,
Okay.
right? So I mean, you got to look inside look inside yourself and try to figure out what that is.
Okay.
All right,
All right.
all right, man. Thanks for hopping in. We'll see you later. All right, let's see what we got here. There's a couple of these that popped in. David said, I notice a lot more I act like an a-hole, the more people respect me. I drew this conclusion when I was running Forum in Entrepreneurs Organization, that assholes are the people that get things done in the world. You'll often get called an asshole. In fact, I tweeted out earlier today, when you give an F, people will take advantage of you. When you say F it, people will call you the bad guy. And oftentimes, when you say F it, you're of course the bad guy. But here's the thing. I mean, all of these entrepreneurs that I know that are putting massive dents in the universe, that are running very successful companies, that are having impacts on society or the people that they work with, at some point, and not even at some point on an irregular basis, but on a regular basis, they're called an a-hole by people. Might be employees, might be vendors. Like if you're working with a customer, or if you're working with a supplier or a vendor that is just a piece of garbage, and you cut them off, they're going to call you an asshole. They're going to, they're going to say something nasty about you. Of course they are, right? But that's what happens when you set boundaries around yourself, right? So to the point that David made here, you like on a balance of probabilities, and talking about the quadrants that I was dealing with over there, the more you lean into the unplugged alpha category, the more often you're going to be called an asshole by people. It's just a given. Eric says, hey, Rich, what are the steps you take to adapt the current big government situation, to adapt to the big government situation? There's 2 episodes that I did on the Unplugged Alpha series. I think it was maybe in the last month. If you go back to the playlist on enjoying the decline, go watch that, because I pretty much break down all of that there. They're very detailed. My boy Jaron says, I like to embody the benevolent dictator archetype. That was if I'm not mistaken, Jaron, I think that was Winston Churchill that came up with that line decades ago. If a girl calls you an a-hole, you've won 100%. Yeah, that is correct. All right, guys, the if you want to hop on live and ask a question tonight, if you want to challenge me on something, I always love it when somebody tries to like challenge me when the show's over. It's like, you have a better solution to something, come on the show, right? Here's the link to YouTube. So head over to YouTube and watch over there. When you come over, oh, come on, 250 likes? There's almost 700 people watching. Guys, hit the like button. It doesn't cost you anything. Just hit it, okay? When you head over to YouTube, pinned at the top, it says call in and ask a question. There's a StreamYard link there. Just make sure you have a good internet connection and you can ask whatever question you want. JP, what do you got for me, buddy? Did you put you got a question for me? I got Turtle Hermit. And I got Headlock JP. I am 26, military officer, remote part. What do you got? Do you have any thoughts? Okay, let's do JP over here. All right, buddy. You are on. What do you got for me? Oh, you're muted. Do you have a mic on that headphone set? I'm not getting any audio, so I'm going to pull you out until you get that fixed. See if you can get that fixed for me. If you go to cam mic at the bottom of your StreamYard, there's a little gear wheel. You can check to make sure you have the right microphone connected, so just check that first. Turtle Hermit, you have a mic. I see your mic's muted. I'm assuming you have a mic. You got something for me here? Can you talk?
Hey, Rich, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. What do you got for me tonight, buddy?
Well, I like your list and the quadrants that you made. I would suggest, okay, so the unplugged beta, the archetype would generally be the black pill, doom pill people, right?
There are some guys that go into that category. Absolutely, yeah.
Well, I would say, well, I refer to like what Rolo said, right? Where not every man can be alpha. And so like the beta is probably going to be the alpha's best friend, because for every alpha, he's going to have good friends who are also beta. Mm-hmm. And when you have so many people that have that trauma and are, they're looking for some type of community to go to. And so sometimes they plug into that doom pill community. They consume that. Mm-hmm. Well, what would be a good way to tap into that community to kind of transform them in a way to actually help them?
Did you catch the show from the start, or did you jump in kind of halfway through?
Yeah, I watched from the beginning.
Yeah. Okay. So the Unplugged Beta guys, when you're talking about assisting with their transformation, a lot of them don't want to deal with the solution. They just want to be mad. Okay. And there's nothing that you or I or anybody can do about that. If that's their choice and that's where they want to be, cool. You can commiserate, you can sulk and wallow, you can be upset at everybody else because just being yourself was not good enough. Women's society, making serious bank requires some serious work, some serious changes. Like I said, again, when I kicked it off, it's very, very unlikely that you're ever going to move most of these people into a category where they, get to the self-actualization. What was it? It was Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Do you remember that from school?
Yeah.
At the very bottom, it's like the basic needs, and at the very top, it's like the self-actualization. That's what the Unplugged Alpha is, okay? The Unplugged Beta guys, they just aren't willing to do the work. A lot of these guys are like, well, if guys like Brad Pitt couldn't do it and, keep a girl down, what chance do you have? And then they kind of like make up reasons why they don't want to move to that area, which is fine. Stay there. You see the code in the matrix, you see the truth. But if you're going to stay around and get mad, that's not your responsibility, my responsibility, or anybody else to assist them in their transformation. Transformation comes from within. You have to actually like make a decision yourself to update your beliefs and say, okay, this is where I want to go in life. These are the choices that I need to make to go there in life, and then start doing the work every day.
Well, what would you advise a person who does deal with that anger? Because that's kind of where
Are you mad right now? Like, are you still pissed off?
I'm not. I think that it's more of an existential anger. If
So Moff has a question for you. Are you making six figures yet?
No, but I mean, I'm on my path, right?
Sorry,
So,
you're on your path?
oh yeah,
Okay.
but but that transformation, it takes time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, there's
It,
no
it,
there's no like fingers that I can click to make this like happen overnight, right? Like this is a slow progressive movement of you making better choices every day, every week, every month, every year that are going to get you to where you want to be. I mean, I'm close to 50. I didn't get there when I was 20 or 30, right? Like it took me a long time to get to where I'm at. And I didn't fully unplug from society's lies until I was like 39, 40, dude. Right? But I figured out the money part early on, right? Like I figured out how to make bank in my like 30, 31 years old. Like that's when I started, to hit like the full stride. So don't be mad, be better is basically what it boils down to. Like get into the gym, lift weights, improve your physique, figure out, what your calling in life might be. Start doing stuff, go out, experience things, travel, put yourself in different rooms, take up new hobbies that might give you experience and exposure to better people. But taking daily steps towards excellence it's not like a pop a pill and rub a cream under your eye and lose 20 years of wrinkles and 20 pounds in 3 days by popping that pill. It's slow progressive changes every single day in your life, and sitting around being mad is a wrong place to be. What do you spend your time doing when you're not leveling up? Like, you watch YouTube videos, or are you on social platforms? You're on Reddit, you play video games? Like, what do you do?
uh, well, I'm always reading. I mean,
What are
I'm
you reading?
always philosophy, Robert Greene.
Hmm.
You know, I'm on right now. I'm on a philosophy binge.
Hmm.
But just in general, I mean, for someone like me, I'm speaking me personally because I kind of identify with a little bit with each of the archetypes, right?
Yeah, like I said earlier, that you could take like an oval circle and kind of blend over like two or three or maybe even four of them.
Yeah, and I think that
You're more on the top category, okay, but you're more in the beta side than you are on the alpha side, because I can tell that you're not getting all the results that you want. You're still more on the pissed off
right.
side. So maybe there's some overlap there, somewhere between the unplugged alpha and the unplugged beta, but you're more on the unplugged beta side.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's okay, right? Because like 80% of people are likely going to be beta, and they can
Well,
still get.
well, I mean, the point being is recognize where you're standing, what the starting point is, because that's A. Then paint a picture, paint a vision of what B looks like, and then every day do things that get you closer to B. If you're doing things that don't get you closer to that vision, to that accomplishment of B, stop doing them.
Right.
I mean, like, you've got to be willing. It's right here. I mean, David he put the words in my mouth. You have to be willing to do what the others aren't willing to do. And it's dressed in overalls, and it looks like work, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to be different, and it's going to be uncomfortable. But it's going to be worth it if you want it bad enough.
Well, 100%.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I think that a lot of people, especially in the black pill, I really do. I pity them and I feel bad for them
Do
because
you do you do you consume black pill content? Because I've heard you mention that term a few
I
times
mean
now.
I really don't even know what black pill content is,
What,
but just
okay, so let me put it to you this way. So, what do you spend time watching when you're watching YouTube? Like, what YouTube channels do you watch?
uh, usually red pill stuff.
Well, you're calling it red pill, but maybe it's not. So, what do you watch?
I mean, Rich Cooper, Troy Francis. I mean, just like the news, you know,
News?
news clips.
Hmm.
Tucker Carlson.
Why do you
But I
watch
mean,
news?
or just history. A lot of history.
Okay, but like, why do you watch news?
Well, that's a really good question. Um,
Because news is mainstream media, and if you go back to the quadrants on that screen, people that are plugged in watch mainstream media and news. Do you have cable?
no,
Where do you watch news?
uh, just YouTube clips. pretty
Yeah,
much.
so don't like, unsubscribe from those channels. It's like walking down the sidewalk and you see a piece of dog shit there and then stepping in the dog shit and then getting mad because you stepped in the dog shit instead of walking around it. Like that's what the news is basically going to serve you. It's going to serve you dog shit. It's designed to create outrage. Are you on my email list, Turtle?
No, I'm not.
You should get on my email list because I just added a documentary to it, which you're not going to see anywhere else, and I can't talk about publicly here. Let me put the banner up again so you guys have it. Get on my email list. That's the URL. I think it's like the 8th email on my list. All of the emails have something important. They're spaced out a day or two. Just get on the list and watch that documentary that I send out, and it breaks down exactly what they're feeding you, why they feed it to you. It's very, very clear. I shared the video in my community over the weekend, and there was a lot of top shelf, like I'm talking like multimillionaires that watch it, and they're like, this is very accurate. This is the most accurate thing I've ever seen.
Well, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I would just like to add that, like a lot of the I mean stuff on YouTube, I'm only half watching, like it's on in the background, kind of like white noise, right? But the main thing that I have done, which has provided a buffer from going down the doom hill, is that I do work out. I do read books. I, am journaling and working on myself.
Okay.
And so I'm saying to look at these quadrants as like a market, as like, different sectors of the market. There has to be a way to kind of help the despair among men.
Why are you trying to save everybody else when your life is screwed up?
Well, I wouldn't say my life is screwed up.
Well, you don't want to. Well, you're not at where you want to be, and one of the reasons why you're not at where you want to be is because you're trying to fix the world before you fix yourself.
I would say that I want to provide what I can.
You're not in a position to bring anybody anywhere because you can only bring people as far as you've come. That's like one of the things that drives me nuts about, a lot of people that broadcast stuff on social media and YouTube is they purport to be something, but they've only done work for a few years, and you can only bring somebody to where you've gotten to. And if you haven't achieved the pinnacle of success, you're not in a position to be talking about anything. You really shouldn't listen to people that are talking about that stuff. To me, whenever I see these guys that are younger, it's like you, you are not in a position to offer any advice to anybody. You haven't lived anything. You haven't seen anything, right? You've done nothing with your life. So when you're seeking advice, ask yourself, would I trade lives with this person? Has this person done anything of any significance, right? One of the things that you'll see a lot of these guys that like to sulk and commiserate, they're like, oh, well, I don't know, what do they say about me? Oh, Rich got divorced. So what does he know about women? Or what does he know about marriage? Or what does he know about like this, that, or the other thing? It's like the very fact that I went through the entire process from beginning to end qualifies me to talk about the process. The fact that I've talked to over 1,000 men now, one-on-one, qualifies me to talk about the process. I don't need a piece of paper on the wall framed in mahogany with little letters after my name. That's why I get paid more, way more, in fact, than many of these like qualified, APA certified, board certified psychotherapists that are utterly useless, for the most part, with the exception of a very small handful. But the point that I'm making, though, is don't worry about other people's problems. Don't let their problems become your problems. Unplugged alphas don't let other people's problems become their problems. They just walk away from it. I'll tell you, the other day I had a guy on a phone call, and he was a vendor, and he was behind on something, and he's giving me all the reasons why he's behind on the project. And I just said to him, I go, look, don't make your problems my problems. This is what I expected. This was the deadline date. Figure it out, right? If you're not qualified to do it, then I'll find somebody else that can do it. I don't want to spend time there figuring out what his problems are so that he can take care of my problems that I'm paying him to fix, right? That's one of the areas that you're going wrong with, Turtle, is you're spending way too much time thinking, well, if we just raise the tide, all the ships will come up. That's not your responsibility. You have a responsibility to yourself and nobody else. Fix that first.
Well, Rich, I really appreciate your
Hey, buddy, I'm here for
feedback
you,
and your challenge, and it's always a pleasure. Thank you for Thank you for.
All right, man. You got it.
You.
Take care.
All right.
Peace. All right. That guy's a good guy. He's he's called him before. He's serious. He's serious. Still a little bit confused, right? So, when you hear me raise my voice and get to the point like that, it's not coming from a place of like, you're an idiot. It's coming from a place of pay attention. Let me just slide up here and grab some of these super chats that popped in. Dave says, don't get a job, create jobs. So he's basically talking about becoming an entrepreneur. I'm not a big fan of employing people anymore. And if you're on my email list below, I have a video on there about things that most business owners will do wrong. And I talk about it there. It's like an hour-long video. Check it out. Don't be nice to women. Let women be nice to you. Okay, let me be clear. Don't be a nice guy to women, but be a kind man. Okay? There's a big difference there. Let women be nice to you. Don't do low intensity long workouts. Do high intensity short workouts. Yeah, Dave's got some points in there for you. He talked about what the 99% won't do. And Billy says, one of the worst things that the mainstream media does is they pervert mental point of origin. Absolutely, dude. They make you care about things you have no control over and are yet another distraction from what's going on in your life. I've mentioned this before, and I know some of you guys kind of come and go with these podcasts. You're not watching them all. Sometimes you're new to the channel, or you're revisiting some newer stuff after coming back. There's a essay written by Jack Donovan called "I Don't Care." Just search for Jack Donovan, "I Don't Care" on Google, and get that part through your head because it deals with what the mainstream media does. Is they try to carry about shit that you have no control over, that manufactures indignation in your life. Read that essay anytime you find yourself coming back, trying to care about some outrage in some part of the world that you have no control over. Don't sweat it. It's not your problem. How are we doing here? 9 o'clock, done an hour. We'll do another half hour, another 45 minutes or so. In the private chat, let me know what it is you guys want to talk about, and we will bring you guys in. JP, did you get your audio fixed? Give me a thumbs up if you did. Yeah? Okay. Let's try that again.
Hi, Rich.
Boom. All right. So what do you got for me?
I think first I was listening to what Turtle had to say, and Turtle reminds me of a lot of men that I work with at my job. Mm-hmm. And so I'm in the military and I'm in charge of quite a few enlisted members. And one of the things that I've seen with lots of these people, so a lot of enlisted members, they get married when they're really young. They get married when they're like 18, 19, 20, and then they go through that whole ordeal of their wives missing out on their party years and then cheating on them later on, and they go through brutal divorces in their late 20s and early 30s. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I noticed with a lot of these people is that a lot of them unplug, and they're actually the people that helped me get on that train. But they try to transition to becoming an alpha, and they just are met with this constant stream of difficulties, which is what you do. And that constant stream of difficulties, just for a lot of people, it's just the mental, it's like doing anything really difficult, but just the constant, every single day having to do all those things wears a lot of people down, and they kind of bounce back into that unplugged beta state, like almost like that state is the crabs in the barrel.
Oh yeah. It's very, very common. Like I said, the vast majority of the male population is in the beta category, either plugged or unplugged. Most of them are still plugged in. Mm-hmm. You put something there in the private chat about, what was your question?
Yeah, so my question really had to do with, so like I'm at a point where I'm getting close to the end of my military career. Yep. And I just wanted to know generally, how do you, from the perspective of becoming an unplugged alpha, how do you make like long-term consequence career or life decisions, like with that goal in mind? Because
somebody posted as a super chat, because the guys that achieve that level in their life, like that level of awareness, like have to be willing to do things that the vast majority aren't willing to do. And a lot of them are going to be very, very hard. They're going to be uncomfortable. They're going to be different from what you're used to doing. But those are questions that you got to ask yourself for some clarity. Like, how old are you now? You're 26?
I'm 26.
And you're close to the end of your military career already at 26. So you're not doing like the full, most guys do like what, 20 years?
So most people, depending on your job, you usually do 4 years, and then you get the choice of you part ways or do you keep going? And 20 is where you can activate your retirement, although there's a high possibility that that's going to be moved to 25 for people entering the military in the future.
Right. So
but it's around 20.
So what's your ask? I mean, you said over here in the chat that you've got some insecurity around it.
So there's so I'm trying to decide if there's a few opportunities that I'd like to pursue that you can only do in the military. So I joined the military to become a pilot, and I'm an electrical engineer, and it just so happens that there's a shortage, so they didn't let electrical engineers fly. And if you become a pilot in the U.S. military, it's a 12-year commitment. And so, but you don't have much freedom over your control over your life.
Why didn't you become a pilot if that's what you wanted to do? I mean, you're 5'6", so you'll fit in the cockpit of pretty much every fighter jet. Like I'm close to 6'3", and the plane that I wanted to fly was a Hawker Harrier. I was actually, doing the full application process for the Royal Air Force when I was like 18. And the two problems I had was I was too tall and I didn't have perfect vision. So you're the right height for a fighter jet. I don't see you wearing glasses. So why didn't you chase that dream of yours?
So when I got to I ended up, when I was right before I became an officer, I was a cadet, and I was about to put in all my applications, and I had everything ready. I had everything set up, and my mother talked me out of it. And then now that I'm an engineer, they're not letting engineers become pilots. So I have an opportunity right now. They just removed that restriction, but the military, you lock yourself in for a very long time. You don't have much control over your life, but the trade-off is you might be able to do something, but you earn a limited income. Yeah, and so my question is,
I mean, you don't let other people talk you out of your dreams. If it's something that you want to do, then just do it, man. But anyway, so your question right now is?
Well, really just for men who are struggling to figure out what their purpose is in life, because a lot of people, like my case is the military. It's this massive bureaucracy. It's really just a giant corporation, and a lot of men just get locked into careers where they're in corporations. And I've met some people who actually are on their purpose in a large corporation or a large bureaucracy, but I've met so few of those people in the military that it's made me really, really skeptical and to some extent jaded about pursuing such a career. There's just,
so you don't want to do a military career. So what's your question about clarity for the future? I just want to get to that.
Okay. I think I'm just talking in circles.
Yeah.
So sorry, Rich.
Okay, no problem. I'll pull you out. Thanks, man. All right. You're going to have to bear with me, guys, because I'm going to do my best to get people to get to the point so that we can get to what the meat and potatoes is of what it is they want to talk about. So I'm going to drive to that, as quickly as possible. Let me just go to these private chats here and see what I got. Headlock. What do you got for me here? Headlock. Where are you? 2 parts about personal experiences and a question on the decline. Okay, so you're up, buddy.
Hey there. How you doing? I can't. Can you hear me all right?
Good.
All right.
I can,
Great.
but your audio's
so,
it's
I guess
reverbing back and forth.
Let me turn that down.
How
does that
a little
sound?
bit better. All right. So what's your question for me?
All right. So my first question was on the decline, obviously. So
no, man, the audio sucks. No, the audio sucks. The audio sucks. Do you think that you can work on that? See if you can do that in the background while I'm just guys, make sure that you hit that gear wheel on the bottom and you have good audio. I can't run you on the show if your audio sucks. I'm gonna have to pull you out. All right. If you're running like multiple things like StreamYard and YouTube simultaneously, you have to make sure you shut down, the YouTube, and you can just watch in the background over here. Nate, let me see what you got here for me. Let me get the super chat real quick. White Lion says, in my watermelon business, I got a lot of female attention after it went well. Was insane since I felt like a boss, but spend my earnings on an F-150 Lightning, a mistake that I made instead of reinvesting. I'm not sure what the watermelon business is, but yeah, you don't want to pile all your money into something that's a depreciating asset. Let's see here. Private chat. Who else we got here? Nate, what do you got? Oh, Headlock says he fixed it. All right, let's try it again.
All right, does that sound better?
There we go.
All right, perfect. Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
So I know you're a sit back and watch it burn type of guy for the decline. My question to you, my question for you is, what's your, shit hits the fan plan? What do you do once it actually goes all the way to hell?
Well, the only things that I see that are going to be a SHTF scenario, okay, which is what you described.
Sorry.
Talking things like extinction level events, meteors, comets hitting the Earth. War would like a serious war would definitely do something like that. I don't think the U.S. is going to pick a fight with China or Russia. They just can't, like, it's just something that they're not going to win. Military advisors will not lean into that very strongly. Like, the U.S. is only going to pick fights with people they think they can dominate. And by the way, the track record of the U.S. military over the last few years kind of sucks. AKA Vietnam, AKA Korea, AKA Afghanistan. Like, you can go right down the list. Like, there's not been a lot of very successful wins, with the exception of World War II.
Well, don't you see a lot of the same division and issues that, say, I'm a fan of history, that you've seen in ancient Rome happening a lot in America now?
Yeah, like all civilizations, have a rise and a decline. We saw it with the Roman Empire, with the Ottoman, with the Greek, with the Mayans. Like, all of these had great, like, there's, if you're a fan of history, there's a monolithic site that they're excavating in Turkey called Göbekli Tepe. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Mm-hmm, I have.
Massive. Graham Hancock has a lot of videos and talks on it. But all of these great civilizations have left behind something, and they've eventually kind of like disappeared. I think the Western civilization that we live in today is eventually going to decline and disappear as well, and be replaced by something else. But I mean, shit hits the fan. Well, are you able to feed yourselves? Are you able to find or make clean drinking water? Are you able to protect your family, with your hands or with, weaponry? Like, those are the things that you want to prepare for. And I'm not going to talk about what I've done, because you shouldn't be giving away what your plan is publicly, because then you're giving away intel to the opposition.
Right.
But there's a lot of stuff out there. Like, there's a lot of prepping sites. There's a lot of guys that talk about, what you should be stacking and, how you should prepare for it. So I wouldn't go head over heels and spend all, like, some people go batshit crazy with that, and they'll just dig a giant hole in their backyard, and they'll drop a shipping container in there, and they'll turn it into like a sleeping quarters with, like, circulated fresh air with HVAC and everything plugged in, and they got weaponry and food for years and all that sort of stuff. You can go that far, but I don't see the need for it. But yeah, as a guy, I believe, and I didn't add it there, but an Unplugged Alpha would have a plan.
Right. Again, the second part is just sharing. I think I've never had an issue getting women or being in relationships, etc. But I think in my marriage, so I've been married just shy of 10 years, that I definitely would see some tendencies of betazation by 1,000 concessions. I think
all
that's
guys go through it. It's just to what degree.
And I think that's what I gained the most value out of your book from, was realizing that and noticing that, and then changing my behavior, especially with my wife and children, not just letting things slide like I could easily do. And then there'd be times where I'd see my wife would call me an a-hole, and actually put a smile on my face, because I'm like, okay, it means I'm not just falling back into old, like, ruts and traps and letting just things go. I'm like, I take that as a good thing. So
yeah. Good.
Well, I appreciate the book. It's been awesome.
All right, man. Thanks. Hey, and do me a solid, guys. If you've read the book, leave a written review on Amazon and let guys know what value you got out of it. It just helps them, when they go through it. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, these guys are all saying something positive. It just helps me out.
Will do.
Thanks, man.
Thank
you. Who else we got here? Nate. Nate, you got something in the private chat for me to fill me in? What is it that you want to talk about? My question is, should I not give my friends who are plugged in advice? Okay, so this is a friend question. I'll pull you in, Nate. All right, so throw it out there. What's your question?
My audio is good, by the way.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, so generally out of like my friend group, I'm like the middle kind of person. So like I'm 22. Some of my older friends are in their like late 20s, so 26, 27, and then some of them are like 18-ish. And sometimes we're just talking about women and stuff, and they'll ask like, oh yeah, what's your advice on this? What's your advice on that? and I'll give it to them from a red pill perspective or from the perspective I see on your videos or other people's videos, like Donovan Sharp or Rolo Tomasi. And a lot of the times they'll like then text me like over and over again about like, what about this? What about that? What about this? And it'll be
These
this
are the
kind
18-year-olds?
yeah, this is the 18-year-olds. And it becomes sort of.
And you're how old?
22. I'm 22.
What are you doing hanging out with 18-year-olds?
Just friends from video games and stuff.
Okay. How much time are you spending on video games?
Maybe an hour sometimes. Right now I've got my job primarily, and then I just came back from Krav Maga earlier today, so I don't have as much time anymore.
I would not give any of your time to somebody that's 18 when you're 22. You've got more important things that you can do with your time than try to save an 18-year-old that's plugged in, playing video games, asking you for advice on how to get the girls right?
Yeah.
So I would start with that. And it's not a question of how do I unplug them, how do I help them, how do I deal with them, drilling me down with all this sort of stuff, right? Like I said earlier, you can only take somebody as far as you've come. And while you might be able to like say, hey, you should check out this video, like you could link a video and say, hey, check out this video that Rich put out that like, deals with that sort of question. Cool. That's a starting point, but you haven't come very far yet, right? I mean, I'm assuming that you still live with your parents.
Yeah.
So you're still living with your parents, playing video games. You got your Halo posters on the wall. Hey, listen, we've all played video games. I played a lot of video games too when I was younger, but at some point, you need to realize that is not a good use of your time.
Yeah, like really I just
BS 1 hour of your time is what Moff says.
Yeah, no, because primarily with my job, because I just switched over from jobs because now I'm doing book selling for Barnes & Noble because I want to start doing writing. So
they usually pay you by the hour? Do they pay you a salary?
Paying by the hour, yeah.
And how much and what's your hourly rate?
Right now, $16.50.
Yeah, that's shit.
Yeah.
I mean, like, but you're gonna be in that position if what you're doing with your time is trying to unplug 18-year-olds and playing video games, living at your parents' house, right? A better use of your time is, okay, I figured out how to make $16 an hour. What's the next level for you?
The next level right now is I'm also in grad school right now at the moment, so I'm going for English and primarily English teaching with some classes that help towards professional editing, because the dream job would be to just work as a freelance editor for people's books and then being published.
Why is that a dream job?
Oh, because I love reading. So a lot of the books I read, primarily fantasy, science fiction, Halo.
Do you like writing though?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. And have you published anything?
I'm trying to get published next year. I've got a manuscript that I'm sending out to an editor.
Okay. And why do you need an editor's permission to publish?
Because they're going to be working for a publishing company. It's a separate press.
Wrong route, bro. The thing about society today is the gatekeepers are gone. You don't need anybody's permission to have a YouTube channel with 1 million views a day. You don't need anybody's permission to publish a book on Amazon. You can do it yourself, right? You don't need a editor to bless your book if you like it. I mean, if you think that you're a great writer, then put it out there and let the audience decide, right? And if that does well, then do another one and do another one. Do you know who James Altucher is?
No.
He's mostly a blogger, but he's an author. He has a book called Choose Yourself. He's a guy I met at a conference about 10 or 12 years ago. So a guy like that is a plugged in beta, very, very successful, has put out a ton of successful books, even has an audience. But the thing being though, is a lot of his, position and influence right now comes from that success, but he's a great author and he's a great storyteller. And one of the things that he covers in his book, Choose Yourself, is the new world order that you live in. And you're leaning into an old social contract, society's lies about how to live your life and how to make money and how to be successful. And all of that shit's a lie. All of it is untrue and is not going to serve you on a long-term basis. Read his book, Choose Yourself, and then you can go decide for yourself. But that's a better use of your time than playing Halo or teaching 18-year-olds how to get the girls up. Right?
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep, that makes sense.
All right, brother. We'll see you later.
Thanks.
I'm going to call you guys out on your BS, man. If you're going to fill me with some crap, I'm going to call you out on it. Who do we got here? So in the private chat, let me know what it is you want to talk about, okay, guys, when you come in. Vanish has a question about attention seeking leading to people pleasing. All right, let's see what you got. All right, you're muted. Can you unmute yourself? Let me know what you got for me.
Hey, Rich. Thank you.
All right, what's your question?
Hey, I had, and not had, but I have an issue with attention seeking. So I don't mind being criticized, but I feel like I always want to be attended to or being a center of spotlight, if you say. That leads me to sort of people-pleasing kind of behavior. And
Okay.
on top of that, I have confidence, but it's not constant all the time.
Okay,
There
so what's
are
your question? Because I mean, your private chat says I have a question about attention seeking.
Yeah,
You
so
know that you
how
seek
do I
attention.
get out of this people pleasing kind of behavior? It just comes out subconsciously even if I try to.
Give me an example of your people pleasing behavior.
So if I'm talking to some friend that I like, female friend, if I like her, then I try to say yes, or like try to say things that they would like to listen, kind of things.
Have you read my book?
Not yet. I'm new to this content. My
Okay,
friend suggested. Yes.
Start by reading my book. It's on Amazon. Where do you live?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you live?
I stay in Atlanta.
Atlanta. Okay, so you can order it on print, Kindle, or Audible. Like, start by reading my book. Once you've read that, come in, and then we'll talk about a little bit more advanced questions because this is very, very basic stuff. Okay, bro?
Cool.
Thanks. All right. Tesla guy has a relationship issue. All right, Tesla guy things. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Rich, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Hey, so I've been with a girl for about 8 months, and things are okay, shaky here and there, and she's great. She has a drinking problem. She
Here we go. Here we go. We're gonna go through the classic complicate life, justify why. Okay, so why are we with her? She's got a drinking problem, so let's hear it.
Yeah, so like things are great, but once a week she'll get drunk, and then things just fly off the rail. Like
so what happens? Is she a bad drunk?
Yeah, she's a terrible drunk.
What does she do?
Angry drunk, just takes out her life problems on me, like uses me as a punching bag for a million different issues. She likes to bring up my own past a lot, that I've been with many women and stuff, you know. She throws that in my face. If I've never
so what's your ask
disrespected
here?
our relationships, why does my past... Is this worth trying to fix? I understand we can never fix people, but it's like I've explained a million times over, and she just won't accept responsibility.
Okay,
I hate to let her go, but I might have to.
Okay, so how old are you?
I'm 38. She's 35, and she's the oldest girl I've dated in quite some time, actually.
Okay, and
she
how long have you known her? You said?
Act like the 20-year-olds. I'm sorry.
How long have you known her?
About 8 months now.
Okay, so she has a drinking problem. Is she a single mom?
No kids.
Okay.
Well off. No issues there, you know.
Okay. And as far as the red flag chapter, does she tick off any of the other red flags on my list?
Well, the drinking problem is a big one. And she just will not take responsibility or accountability. Like, you know, I have to explain something for an hour for her to go like, oh, okay, well, I apologize, and I'm gonna do the same shit again next week.
Okay. All right. So what are you asking me for here? Like permission to keep seeing her or permission to dump her? Like what's the ask?
No. Just an opinion of, like I said, I understand. Opinion, is it worth trying?
Well, look, man.
Like I said, everything's great, but the alcohol.
Yeah. Okay, you know, complicate life, justify why. You know, I'll say it again. But I mean, if we go back to the quadrants, right? You're talking about basically allowing a problem chick to stay in your life. That's clearly a problem. You've identified the problem, probably, you know, potential problems. I would imagine if she's got a drinking problem, she's probably got other issues as well that would show up as a red flag on my list. And then you're basically in, I mean, you're definitely in the beta category. You're kind of plugged in, but you're somewhat unplugged as well. and you're seeking, you know, permission from a guy on YouTube to do something about this problem. You don't need anybody's permission, man. You just need to do something about it, which is, you know, make a choice. And it's like, do I want to complicate my life and allow this nut bar to have a flip out session whenever she gets smashed and throw things at me and, like, you know, dig up my past? Or, you know, what's the alternative?
Well, the
Moff
alternative
just said
is
it here
go
in the
other way
chat.
and have my peace.
Right. I mean, like Moff just said it in the chat, and Unplugged Alpha doesn't put up with this crap. Right?
Right.
So, I mean, like, where do you want to be in your life? Like, you're seeking clarity, like you're seeking betterment. You understand what's required to do that, but you don't want to do the work that's involved to do that, right? It's classic. It's classic.
It's hard to disconnect immediately when you are emotionally involved. It is.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like, you've only dated her for a few months, right?
8 months now.
Yeah. It's not like it's been 8 years, right? It's not like you're like deeply connected to her over a long period of time and you form a strong pair bond, right? I mean, it sounds like you have no problem getting women if you've got a notch count like that.
No, and that's like one of our issues is that I've been with. I lost count. You know, it just doesn't matter.
How did she learn about your notch count?
Just asking a million questions. She did the classic, which a lot of girls will somehow get a hold of your password and go through your phone.
Why did you let her go through your phone, dude?
It wasn't intentional.
No, but I mean, like, you put like the fingerprint on it or something like that. Like, you know, that's your phone, man.
I do, but it has a 4-digit password that she had to see me put in at some point.
Yeah, well, that's why you get rid of those passwords, so you learn your lesson there. But like, so that's another red flag that you're not talking about, which is on my red flag list. Is she's going looking for problems? You know, she's manufacturing indignation. She's found a perfectly good guy, who's, I mean, like, I'm assuming that you're together, because if you're able to attract that many women and bed them, then you shouldn't have a problem. And then what she does with herself is get smashed, and then when she's not smashed, she's like, let me steal his phone when he's not looking or away or in the shower or something like that, and go through it and find something to be upset about. So why don't you just find a chick that's not like that?
So it's like she found. Shit, I've tried. But it seems like
hey, listen, you know, dude, hold on a sec. There's lots of women that have problems. There's lots of women that bring baggage, but it's up to you as a guy. Like, one of the things that the Unplugged Alphas do, you know, if you go back to the Quadrant, if you go back and watch that, is they don't tolerate women as you're describing. So if you're on that top shelf, you're in a position to choose, right? Like, women are the gatekeepers to sexual intimacy. Men are the gatekeepers to relationships. And when she had the talk with you and said, hey, Tesla guy things, where do we stand? You know, you didn't look at her behavior and say, well, in your head, you're a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So this is where we stand. And you drew a line, like you drew a boundary, you know, between you and her, and you decided to keep her at arm's length. Instead, you invited her in.
Yeah.
Right? And Unplugged Alphas don't invite problem women into their lives. Right? So, I mean, you're getting the results that you're getting right now because you made that choice. So make a different choice. And, you know, either tell her to sort herself out and fix it, or just dump her.
Yep, I think the second is probably going to be my best option here. Because, like, one of the things she did, she blocked her
and then just move on and start dating more women. You know, just spin some plates, let the cream rise to the top. I mean, if you're an LTR guy, fine. You know, do an LTR and spin some plates until the cream rises to the top. And she's not going to be the kind of chick that's going to manufacture indignation. She's not going to be the kind of chick that gets smashed and, you know, just starts, you know, causing havoc in your life. If she's a drunk, get rid of her.
Yeah, one of the issues was that I think that damage that can be taken away is when she was going through my phone, she found a bunch of videos of me doing things to other women, and she just, you know, it's like, well, this has nothing to do with you. You know?
well, I mean,
So,
your homemade video collection should probably be kept somewhere else.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
It is now.
But yeah, but at the same time, I mean, she's a problem chick. She brings red flags, and women that have red flags will cause havoc in your life. Have you read my book?
I haven't yet.
Dude,
it's on my
read
list.
my book.
I heard you telling the last guy, so I'm gonna.
Yeah.
It's on my list. I'm gonna do audiobook when I'm in the gym and stuff like that.
Yeah, just grab the Audible and just, you're on a nice drive with a Tesla and you got my audiobook playing. And then do me a favor, when you're done reading it, give it that 5-star, review that it deserves and tell other guys how it changed your life. And I promise you, man, like, you're not going to tolerate this crap, especially when you get to the red flag chapter. I bet that there's at least 2 red flag chapters that this has, 2 red flags, possibly more, that you've been tolerating, that you're going to realize, why did I put up with this crap?
Yep, you're probably right. And I just want to say, hey, I appreciate your content, man. I've been watching it for a while. And so you are doing good things for us.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. We'll see you later.
Have a good one.
All right, peace. Complicate life, justify why, right? Let me see if I missed any of the supers here. No, we're good. And in the private, I think White Line, I'm going to throw you in because I know you dropped a nice super there for me. Let me bring you in first. Somebody said in the private chat, hey, Rich, how do we join your email list? Let me just draw your attention down over here. Okay? That's how you join it. That's where you get the red flag chapter. It's free. All the good stuff. All right, White Line, what is up, bro?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, my question is, like, have you ever seen some guy go from very beta to this alpha, like very alpha? Like, is there hope for all of us? Guys, I don't consider myself alpha, obviously, because I wouldn't be here talking. I wouldn't be looking for solutions and whatnot,
Yeah.
But I had very alpha moments, but I want to keep doing that,
So okay, so what's your question? Because anybody can change who they are. You can become whatever you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your question? Because it's not, can I change? Anybody can change if they want. So what's your question?
Have you ever seen, have you ever experienced, have you personally seen guys go from very beta to this, wow, this guy.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time.
Mm-hmm. So my goal is to be like my grandpa. Okay. I know he was very alpha. I can tell just the way he acted, the way he not just by that, but also by the way my grandma expresses about himself and how they met.
Yeah.
It's
so what's stopping you from tell me more? Ask your aunts and uncles stories, about your grandfather, and learn more about, how did he deal with women? How did he deal with making money? How did he deal with conflict? How did he deal with environmental issues with the state government, doing things in his life.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And I feel like I have something of that on me. But
you're his grandson, of course you do.
Mm-hmm. But all the TV screw me over. I'm not watching TV and all that shit, and use romantic movies and all that crap. None of that shit works.
Where are you talking to me from now? Is this your office? Is this your home? Is this your bedroom?
No, this is my room.
Okay. And this is your bedroom?
Yeah. Right now I screw myself because I put it I made a watermelon business. Basically, I have watermelon crops. It went very well.
You're the watermelon guy, right? That's
yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes, and it went very well. And well, I made a mistake because when I was little, I saw this movie Fast and Furious, obviously. Everybody knows it. So I saw this beautiful F-150. I want that when I grow up.
Okay.
So I made
the
effort.
It all in the truck.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't regret it because the truck is fun. It's a lot of fun, but I had damn.
Is it the F-150 Lightning with the supercharged V8, or is it the new one that's?
No, it's the one with the supercharged V8. I mean, the one from Fast and Furious.
Okay.
And
are those Matchbox cars screwed to your wall in their packages?
Those are Hot Wheels, yeah.
Hot Wheels.
Yeah, I always collect.
Is this your bedroom?
Mm-hmm.
How do you bang chicks with that shit on your wall?
Well, I'm gonna tell you a story. I'm gonna tell you a story.
I would understand if it was your office or a hobby room or something like that, but
they shit test me. They oh my god, you're gonna have to either choose your Hot Wheels or me. Okay. I'm like, well, you're gonna have to leave then, because since I was 5, 6, 7 years, since I have memory, I always collected Hot Wheels.
Okay.
So that's not something I'm gonna be able to get rid of. Okay. They're like, okay.
So that's an alpha trait then, right? Because I mean, you basically look at them and well, that's who I am. If you don't like it, you can pound sand.
Yeah, I told. Well, yeah, it's,
I'll be honest with you, like it's kind of dorky, right? I mean, like
yeah.
like I have friends that like certain things from childhood or cars or whatever, but they usually put it in like a room in their house or an office or something like that, or like a wall. Like it's not in the bedroom. But anyway,
yeah,
listen,
it's seriously a shit. I know they always gonna shit test me about
Moff
this.
says here in the comments, you got to respect the dude that says I choose the Hot Wheels. Like that's king shit, like, right off the bat. Anyway, but like to your point, like just get on that grind, get on that purpose. That like the fact that you can tell chicks that's the way that it's going to be is awesome. But I bet that there's things that you could be doing better that would get you some far better results with everything that you're doing.
What I want to resolve right now, it's I want a wife and I want kids.
How old
I know
are you?
I'm 30.
Where do you live?
Nebraska.
Nebraska.
In the United States.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, just be very, very careful with that whole wife and kids. Like I want. Like it should be something that, you get to choose if you've spent enough time understanding and vetting women. Have you read my book?
Yeah, I had the audio.
Okay, so I mean, like you heard the chapter on why smart men don't get married.
Yes, I understand.
Nebraska, one of the states that are friendly to fathers. Because I mean, like one of the first things that I would say that you should be doing is moving to a state that's father friendly. Right. Yeah. And I don't think Nebraska made the list. I did a video in the last month and a half on my channel. You go back, look for it. Yeah. But there's a Wikipedia page that like breaks down all the different states and the ones that are father friendly for shared custody and the ones that aren't. Because chances are, if you're going to get married in the U.S., there's a good chance that you're going to get divorced. Right. So
yeah, most likely.
Why not live in a state where you're not going to have to deal with the headache of getting custody and seeing your kids? Because that's the whole point of being a father is you have the right, to father your children and parent them.
And I feel like this weight on my back is very, very heavy. That like because my grandpa had a bunch of kids. My dad had kids. I mean, my how you say that. I'm
not saying don't do it. Like I even ended the chapter saying like, hey, listen, I'm not anti, having children and, being with a woman or any of those things. Yeah. Like, I'm with Rollo on the whole notion of, men and women are better together than they are apart, especially if they're a complement. That's the important distinction. The problem is that most guys never get to that point. They just invite crazy into their life. Like our Tesla friend, who has the drunk girl with other red flags that he's contemplating spending time with. Yeah. And, maybe, hey, oh, oops, I made a mistake and I knocked her up and now they're going to have a baby together sort of thing, right? Like you have to live these steps intentionally. And that's what an Unplugged Alpha does, right? So go back and look at those quadrants, like just freeze the screen.
The screen.
Right. And if you want to be like your grandfather and achieve that level of self-actualization, if you want to have kids and a family, that sort of stuff, then you've got some work to do, right?
I'm going to tell oh yeah, definitely. I'm going to tell you a story that my grandpa did. So there was my grandpa and my grandma in the kitchen, there was this fly. And it was like my grandpa was trying to kill it with a sweater. What is it called? Yeah.
Yeah, the fly.
And my grandma, and my grandma gave him shit, like, hey, don't be nasty. Why are you killing the fly in the kitchen? And my grandpa like, he just laughed at it and he kept, and my grandma just went like that and she kept cooking,
So what she did there, just for reference, is one of the small things that women will do to men to try to betatize them. And they don't realize that they're doing it. And the guys that go along with it, that'll like put a cup over the fly and take it outside and release it outside sort of things. Those are the guys that go through the betatization process. Just to kind of show you what that was.
My dad's one of them. I know because the stories that I hear about my dad, and when I look at him, I'm like, it doesn't add up. Like, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. He has, like, when I go to Mexico and all his friends tell me like, oh, your dad used to do this, he used to do that. I'm like, what the hell happened to that guy?
Okay, well, you know that you have some work to do.
Yeah.
All right. So
thank you for your content, man. It's very helpful.
All right, man. Thanks. I'll see you later. Peace. All right, let's see what we got here. I'm gonna try to do one more call and let's see what we got. Spencer, you got a question for me? What are your questions? Yes. Okay, let's do Spencer then. All right, what do you got for me, buddy?
Hey, Rich. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, awesome. So basically, I've been watching your stuff for about 6 to 8 months now. I got out of a 2-year relationship back in February.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
Okay.
So still on the younger side. I'm in college. I'm a college student. But I was complete simp beta boy, and there's of course still things I need to work on. But I was like a classic beta. Just let her run all over me at her beck and call every second, and almost didn't go to the school that I wanted to because of her. Besides the point, that's after we broke up. Glad we're done because I was extremely toxic. But I started watching videos and starting to dive into the red pill. I got your book, read your book. I got it and read it right on my birthday when I turned 22 up in the Cape. I was on vacation with a bunch of my guy friends.
All right.
But basically one of my questions is, so I've since I've been in school here, I've probably I brought back a girl and a good looking girl every weekend, if not 2 girls a weekend. So on a Friday, Saturday, like Friday night, I'll bring back a girl. Saturday night, I'll bring back a girl.
Okay.
And they're all like, sometimes they're 7s, which ain't the best, but mostly 8s. Let's see. I was down at another school with some friends to go to this past weekend, brought back a pretty good looking girl. She was like a 9. And my kind of question is, yes, I've read your book, but I'm trying to figure out like where, I'm able to bring them back. Obviously I'm able to do the game at the club. I'm good looking enough, whatever. And how do I kind of keep that going if I want to keep it going with one of them? If I want to
like turn into a long-term relationship?
No. To continue to spin that plate to keep her interested. So like, if I want to go back to that school,
okay.
Let's say I want to see her, just go out for that night. Nothing more than that.
How old are these girls?
They're all college age. Some of them are from 18 all the way up to 22.
Okay, so here's what's going to end up happening. I mean, you're going to rack up a notch count.
Yeah. Like I said,
double, maybe triple digits,
It's gone quite a bit. Like before my relationship, it was maybe like 4 or
Got
5.
it. So your question is how do you keep them spinning, right?
Yeah, how do I keep them exactly?
Okay. Well, you have to so women are hypergamous, yeah? So she's going to look around at her peers, her school, the guys that her girlfriends are seeing. You need to be the guy that she's excited about, right? Like my buddy Ryan says, be attractive, don't be unattractive.
Yeah.
Okay. Pretty straightforward stuff. You've of course got to run some game on her. Like you can't completely ignore her from, when you see her to when you see her again. Let her know you had a good time. Make sure when she's leaving in the morning or later on that night, she has a hard time walking. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. Yeah.
You've done your work. Okay.
Of course.
So, send her home happy and don't be like a beta pleb and like, be like sending her all the simpy like emojis all the time and pictures and hey, how was your day and sort of thing. Like if the frequency of your conversation gets to be too much, it doesn't matter how great you were at the club, how great you were at night and how things went. If she sees you after the fact as a beta pleb, then she's going to realize, okay, well, I don't want to talk to Spencer anymore. Yeah. Chad's a better option. I'm going to hang out with Chad this weekend instead of Spencer. So it's just running some game and essentially calibrating yourself so that, you can keep them in rotation. When you do it right, they kind of do it themselves. Like some plates will fall off. They're just not going to be interested. Some plates will want a long-term relationship and to which you're going to say, look, I'm in school, I'm busy, I'm not looking for a monogamous girlfriend right now, right? But I'd love to see you next Thursday, set it up sort of thing. And you just run the numbers. Some will leave, some will stay for a while and leave later, sort of thing. The way that most guys that I coach on a long-term basis, like my 7 and 8 figure, coaching clients, they generally spin plates in a non-monogamous fashion. They let the cream rise to the top. And then if they decide they want to be in an LTR with that one girl, then they stop wasting their time, with the other nonsense, because women are going to bring a certain degree of stress and drama and nonsense in your life. And at the end of the day, you start to realize it's kind of pretty much all the same. It's like, what is she like when we're not in the bedroom? So you're not concerned with the LTR part now?
No.
You're concerned with being on your purpose, doing your grind, doing stuff with your boys sort of thing. And you're not going to let women get in the way of that. So go back to the quadrants and go and see what the Unplugged Alpha does. You know, you can scroll back because I zoom in all the quadrants, and make sure you're doing more of that stuff than the other stuff. Right?
Okay.
That's what these women are going to like. That's what they're going to be attracted to. I mean, you've already got a good look. You got that, that great haircut thing going on. Like the cock-a-doodle-doodle.
Yeah.
You got it going on, right? So it's just like, you just have to keep running the game and calibrating yourself and refining your game. I mean, if you find that you're going out with like 5 or 10 women and they all don't come back for more, there's something wrong with what you're doing. But if you're losing like half of them, a third of them, even 2/3 of them, like who cares? Like even if you can retain a third of them, you're doing a good job. Right?
Yeah, I'd say it's about I'd say about a third that I'll go out with, and then they'll hit me up the next morning or whatever it is. I mean, big thing for college kids, Snapchat is what I usually get for the girl. I get their snaps. It's easier that way than a number. So that's usually how we communicate. And it's usually a pretty good, about a third will continue to answer me back.
Don't spend too much time on the apps. Screens and stuff like this should be for setting up the next date, not communication about what's going on with your day and, how did Becky treat you when you got back? Is she still annoying? Don't deal with that stuff. Let some beta pleb deal with that, some shoulder that she wants to cry on. You want to be the alpha Chad, right?
Mm-hmm, of course. All right. And then I guess one more quick thing was along with the game. Cause I think it's chapter 7 in your book. It's a slow money status game. Right. Mm-hmm. I guess I get everything else makes sense. It's I guess the game, what's a good way to up your game as specifically a college student? You know what I mean? Everyone's a college student, not a lot of college students are really.
Yeah. You're pretty much on level ground. Like your biggest competition, you probably don't know it yet, but your biggest competition for their hotter girls is going to be the hotter girls being sugar babies and guys with money running game on them. Older guys, successful, probably, considerably older than them. Right.
Okay.
And they're probably not going to tell you about it. They're not going to be honest about the fact they got, some 40-year-old guy that's divorced with 4 kids that runs 3 businesses, sort of thing that she smashes once a week.
Yeah.
That'll be your competition, but you're not going to try to compete with that because it's not it's in a different
not
category.
Worth it. Yeah.
Right. So just go to school, level yourself up, understand female nature, figure out what your purpose is in life. Don't get into a long-term relationship like your 20s are to lay the foundation for your life.
Of course.
I mean, if you want to rack up a notch count, have fun at it. Just be careful. Make sure you don't knock anybody up. Nothing goes sideways. Obvious stuff that, you've already learned.
It's all in the book. Yeah.
Just be on your grind, right?
All right. And then So you think those morning I was hesitant on sending a thank you for last night type of thing because I'm not sure if that comes off beta-y.
Don't send a thank you. Just send something hey, I'll see you on Thursday. Does that sound good? And if she responds then just say something cocky funny, make sure you stretch this time so I don't hurt you. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
That's the way that you handle it, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I like that. Yeah. That's good. All right. Cool.
Like Moff said here, she should be thanking you.
Exactly. I know. And that night when I was leaving, she was that night she was.
That's all. That's all you got to worry about. That's it. Nothing else.
Okay.
Don't sweat it. Cool. Right. A guy that's on his grind, on his purpose, at spinning the plates, he doesn't worry about if a plate falls off. It's outcome independence. That was one of the characteristics and one of the traits of an unplugged alpha is he doesn't care either way. She sticks around, awesome. She doesn't, cool. Makes room for somebody else to come on in.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. I really appreciate it, Rich. And
all right, man.
Like I said, I really appreciate all your content. Have a good one.
Hey, did you leave a review on the book for me?
I would do that now because like I said, from high school, I wasn't much of a book reader. There were maybe a couple books that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
This was the first book. I finished it in 2 days. Got it on my birthday. I was up in the Cape. We were just sitting on the beach.
Good.
And I was halfway into that book on my 22nd birthday. We went out, and then that following morning we went back to the beach, and I was done with it by the car ride home. So
good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Best book I've read. So thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, man.
Talk to you later.
See you, Spence. Ciao. All right. Got a couple of super chats here. Before I go and get to that, let me just do the channel's shout out for sponsorship. So over my shoulder on the corner, I can't really bend my finger that way because it's over there, but Grondike Soap, the tactical soap company, and beard oil. It's the same beard oil that I use in this magnificent, majestic beard. It's pheromone infused stuff, so it's Doesn't have any endocrine disruptors in it. Doesn't have anything in it that's going to throw off, your ability to produce testosterone. It doesn't convert to estrogen in your body. It's the good stuff. Yes, it's more expensive. Use the coupon code Cooper and you get 10% off. Just go to coopersoap.com. And the other thing is, if you don't know already, now you know. It's over my shoulder here, the supplement line, which I did a video on, I think 5 episodes back, kind of breaking it down. It's all in different categories. So if you go to the unpluggedalpha.com, okay, there's a link there to the book and the other stuff, but more specifically, the supplement line is broken down by category. You want to build muscle, you want to burn fat. There's stuff in there for estrogen metabolism. So, I mean, if you find yourself, looking in the mirror and you're shaped like a pear, for example, you've got maybe man boobs, or you're storing too much weight around your waist. There's categories for that with the estrogen metabolism. The testosterone boosters in there are basically have all the ingredients that you heard Huberman talk to Rogan about on that Cast Together. I've done a lot of research before I put this line together, so go check it out. If you guys are using the supplements that are out there, if you use Alpha 10 at checkout, you get 10% off. There's an option to subscribe and save. Use that if you've got a long-term relationship with some of these supplements, so that you get the discount and they just ship it to you, every 30 to 60 days or so when you need it. So go check it out on the website. Let me grab this one last super chat I think popped up here, and then we'll start to wrap it up and wind it down. Cold Steel says, what's your opinion on living with 2 long-term girlfriends? Would it be easier or harder to handle? Look, women are going to complicate your life. If you want to live with 2 long-term girlfriends, I'm assuming in the same house, you're going to have to make sure that you're dealing in a situation that you're able to control. You're going to have to understand game fully. You're going to have to understand female nature fully. You're going to have to be, you're going to have to be on your toes on a consistent basis. I don't know too many people that have been able to pull this off on a long-term basis. They always run into some problems, and they usually don't stop at 2. They sometimes run harem, like several. And there's always complications that come out of all this, sort of stuff. I don't think the West is ideally suited to it. I think if maybe you have religious, convictions. There was a guy earlier that was talking about, was it Utah, Salt Lake? I can't remember where it was, but there's certain, religions where polygyny is basically standardized, right? The problem is again, you still have to have game. Most of these guys that are living in these sort of environments that have these religious, convictions are generally plugged in betas. So an Unplugged Alpha, if you want to learn more about this, there's a great book that I mentioned earlier. It's called Alpha God by Dr. Hector Garcia. And there's been many examples throughout histories where high value guys have run multiple women, sometimes harems, large harems, in fact, like we're talking hundreds, very, very successfully. So if you want to learn more about that, go check it out. But ideally, you have to be a top shelf guy if you're going to pull it off. You're not going to pull it off as a plugged in beta. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have very, very poor success. All right. Well, let's wrap it up on that note. I want to thank you guys for watching tonight. It was a fun show. If you're kind of catching the tail end of it, go back to those quadrants, pinch and zoom, or just kind of pause it on them so you understand the components of each of those archetypes. I think I saw somewhere in the chat somebody asked me, where I was, and I was more of a plugged in alpha naturally. I just didn't see the lies for what they were until I unplugged, and I kind of went in that direction, kind of up like that. And there's always work to do. It's like, just do the work on yourselves, guys. Appreciate all the call-ins and the super chats. You want to support the channel and the show, go to the unpluggedalpha.com, grab some of the supplements. There's also merch if you guys want the mugs and stuff with all the lingos on it. Does that focus? Come on. Great camera, but it has there you go. Great camera, but it's a hard time focusing sometimes. These lives are on every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, call-ins are open to everybody. Young, old, men, women, call in. If you got a question on something, you want to challenge me on something, you think you have a better solution to a problem, do it. Don't be a, hiding off in the corners or a keyboard warrior. And by the way, guys, I do check my channel membership comments about once a week, and it's really cool now because I can go to YouTube and I can sort comments by channel membership status. So if there's something in a live cast you have a question on that you want clarity on, you weren't able to do it live, just throw the question in there and I'll take a look for it and I'll respond. But I don't have time to look at any of the other regular comments. I just don't. Thanks for watching. Be back next Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. I have a Playing to Win episode this Thursday with my buddy Pete. And if you've followed the channel for a long time, you know who he was because I did a interview with him in his Dodge Challenger. This was like 5, maybe 6 years ago. It was around 2015. And a lot of stuff has changed for him since then. We're hanging out over the weekend, just having a espresso, shooting shit with a bunch of the other boys. And yeah, so I invited him on the show. He's going to be on for like 60 to 90 minutes. It's going to be a lot of business talk. We'll be talking some personal stuff. That'll be on Thursday, so make sure you look out for that event once I create it. And just hit the like button. It helps me out with the algorithms. We'll see you guys.